false unity. False unity that the world contrives, that the world gives, that the world tries to achieve. We've seen it as early as the Tower of Babel. And this was a false unity. It was an evil unity. And the Lord himself said to himself and to the divine council and heavenly hosts, he said, if they keep going at the rate they're going, and they unify like they're doing now and determine not to scatter about and to build this Tower of Babel, nothing will be impossible for them. Well, we can speculate really what that means, that nothing will be impossible for them. But it's sad that the pagan world can achieve a unity, though it is a false unity, though it is a unity that will ultimately self-destruct and fail, but they can achieve a greater unity in falsehood than we believers can in the truth. Now, when they were building the Tower of Babel, they were pagans. Some were devotees to Dagon, some to Baal, some to Ishtar, some to Molech, some to Chemosh. They come from all different economic stratas of society, rich and poor, young and old, fat and skinny, Canaanites of various kinds, the Hittites, the Amorites, Philistines, just go on and on. And, male, female, those that were, trying to achieve godhood themselves. There was just all different kinds of political views, religious views, and persuasions. Some, even back then, some were homosexual, some were lesbian, some were bi. There was the LGBTQ plus before, it had its resurgence in our modern day. They were from different countries, different parts of the world, so to speak, the known world at that time. And yet there are various differences in opinions. Some were cannibals, some were vegetarians, some, it just goes on and on. Some sacrificed only animals, some sacrificed human beings. Their opinions, their lifestyles, their persuasions, everything about them was as diverse as you could possibly imagine. And yet, through all of their differences and all the things that they could fight about, squabble about, disagree about, all the things that could possibly and potentially tear them apart, they didn't care. They didn't care. And it's not because they loved each other. They didn't know what true love was or is. They were just unified on the fact that they were going to build a tower and they were going to storm the heavens. That was it. That's the only thing that unified them. They had one world government, one world leader of Nimrod. It was a hive mind as much as could have been achieved at that day and time. And, so there you go. And God said nothing would be impossible for them. So, fast forward to the modern day. It's the same thing. You have the internet, which some people says is a type of a Tower of Babel, not saying that it is. And they've brought up the fact that www dot in the numeric Hebraic equivalent is 666. Not saying that is the mark of the beast, but it's a foreshadowing. It's a shadow and type. It's a forerunner of the mark of the beast or what have you. But basically, what I'm saying is that we can see that the world is unifying today through a hive mind, through a single consciousness called the internet, and there are all sorts of political views, religious views and persuasions. Some worship the Nordic pantheon, some worship the Hindu pantheon, some worship the Roman pantheon, some worship Satan. Some are LGBTQ plus. Some are lesbians, homosexuals, transgender. Some are businessmen, some are rich, some are poor. Again, just like the Tower of Babel, so much diversity, so much they could disagree upon and be dissensuous upon, so much that could drive them apart, but yet they're unified and look past their differences and embrace their differences in unity, even though it's a false unity, even though it's a unity based on selfishness, evilness, and it's not based on love or the truth or the one true God. And yet, it's quite possible that, when the beast comes, whoever he is, the anti-Messiah, the Antichrist, that he will use this unification vehicle of the internet and us being connected through, technology and AI to form a one world government where everybody will rally around this world leader and they'll be unified in one goal and one purpose. And yet in John 17, Messiah Yeshua prayed, and he pleaded and begged and challenged at the same time for believers to unify, to be one, just as he and God were one, just as Yeshua Messiah and God the Father are one. He challenged and prayed that his followers, his disciples, his apostles, his students, that believers then in that day and those that were to come after them, hence, aka us, that we would be unified. And yet the world laughs at us. We read the same book, we worship the same God, but yet we can't unify and we can't agree because we're bickering and squabbling about stupid, petty, little differences that don't make any difference in eternity. That doesn't make any difference to the cardinal, foundational doctrines that we can all agree upon and that we agree upon in order to be unified. The Godhead, the inerrancy of Scripture, the divinity and sinless life and redemptive life of Messiah Yeshua and him coming again, and the inerrancy of the Word and salvation through Yeshua's sacrifice. All these things, those are the cardinal things that we agree upon. Anything that lays outside of that is an aberration or considered a cult group or a splinter group. But it doesn't matter if you're Lutheran, Baptist, Presbyterian, Episcopal, you just name the denomination, Messianic. As long as we can agree upon those cardinal doctrines, we can be unified. Who cares what we believe about the gifts? Who cares what we believe about tongues? Who cares what we believe about baptism and how to do it? Who cares about what we believe about specific customs and traditions and halakha? These little things that really don't make a difference or matter one way or another. Why can't we take the example of the pagans in the fact that we can be unified in our diversity and just overlook those petty little things and be unified with the Scripture, the one true God, and Messiah Yeshua? Because if we're not unified and if we're not one, we're going to be easily overcome by Satan, by the enemy, by the Illuminati, the New World Order, the one world government, the beast that's coming, the pagans that are unifying together. They'll easily be able to overcome and overtake us. And that's why they don't take us or our message seriously. Because they're like, they can't even be unified. We're more unified than them. What power do they have? They have no power whatsoever because they're not unified. So I'm begging, I'm pleading. Lay aside your sacred golden calves, your petty little differences, and let's be united and answer the prayer of Yeshua Messiah in John 17 and be one, just as he and the Father are one. Now, I'm not preaching ecumenicalism and that, we all come together and be one happy kumbaya family and it doesn't matter what we believe. No, as I said before, there are things that will set us apart. There are non-negotiables, and if there's any deviance or variation or aberration in those cardinal doctrines that I had laid out before, then we don't unify with those so-called believers because they're not true believers. They're a cult. They're kind of on our own. But when we can agree on the cardinal doctrines, we need to be unified and agree upon those things. And on everything else, we just need to agree to disagree agreeably in messianic brotherly love. Because we're going to need each other. Guess what? Our brothers and sisters in North Korea, in China, in the Arab countries, in the communist countries, the Muslim countries, guess what? They come from different denominations. They proclaim different denominations, follow different denominational doctrines, but they're unified as believers and brothers and sisters in Messiah Yeshua, regardless of what denomination they choose to adhere to or and follow after. And they look past their differences in order to achieve unity because they are the persecuted underground church. They need each other. It doesn't matter if they're Baptist or, Methodist or, whatever. They unify on the cardinal things that they agree upon, and what they disagree upon, it's no big deal to them. They just let it slide, let it go. It doesn't matter in the whole scheme of things. Why can't we see that we are squabbling over petty little things, and that we need to it's simple. We're the one who complicates faith. We're the one who complicates this movement. Why can't we just love each other and be in unity on the cardinal issues and doctrines? Because if we're not, and if we don't, the enemy's going to overcome us. As Ephesians, I believe, 4:5 says, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one Messiah. Those are the things we could agree upon. Everything else is just periphery. It doesn't matter. It's just neither here nor there. And we see in Revelation that the beast will overcome the saints for a time. And I hope that many of us can be in unity before, God forbid, something like that happens that forces us to be one. That we wouldn't give into the flesh and carnality of having to believe and think we're right all the time, and having to, fight over little anthills and molehills of doctrine. That we could choose wisely what hill to die on, and not be drawn into unloving, unchristlike, petty little squabbles and fights and differences. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Go out there and have a great day. God bless. Abraham'sDescendants.com, getting back to the first century in a 21st century way. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press the like button as well as the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and the notification bell that'll let you know every time I make a new video. And don't forget to share this with a friend. Also, visit our website at Abraham'sDescendants.com. Thanks. Shalom. Thanks for watching. Stay connected by subscribing to our other social media accounts and visiting our website at Abraham'sDescendants.com.